bump? Or is it called a foot bump? This coronavirus has made the good old-fashioned handshake a thing of the past. Hello, my name is Rana Nejem and I'm author of When in the Arab World, an insider's guide to living and working with Arab culture. So how is it that we greet each other now? Well, prior to coronavirus pandemic, the regular traditional handshake is the acceptable form of greeting across the entire Arab world, whether in social settings or in business settings. And even before the coronavirus, traditional Muslim men and women might prefer not to shake hands or not to have any physical contact with the opposite sex, and so would rather, instead of shaking their hand, they would put the right hand to the heart with a slight nod of the head, and that is the form of greeting. Now it's being accepted as the best and the healthiest and the cleanest and, how should I say, the more etiquette appropriate form of greeting now across the world. But prior to all of this, this is one area that caused quite a bit of strain and stress and a bit of embarrassment for a lot of people from outside of the region. One of those was Felix. He was telling me about how he was invited to an official function related to his work, and he saw one of his work colleagues there. They greeted each other very warmly, and then his colleague introduced Felix to his wife, who he had met his meeting for the first time. Now, Felix, of course, he did what he thought was the right thing and put out his hand to shake her hand. And he said that he felt very embarrassed because he couldn't understand her body language. She took a slight step back and put her right hand on her heart and nodded, and he kept his hand out and felt very awkward and didn't know what to do. So I explained to Felix that to reciprocate, you just do the same thing. You put your right hand on your heart. Don't feel bad about it. Don't feel embarrassed. It's completely normal. And to avoid that kind of thing, that kind of situation in the future, just wait a little bit. If you're a female greeting an Arab Muslim male, or the opposite, just hang back a few seconds and wait. Don't put out your hand first. Wait until you see what the person in front of you is going to do, and then you would reciprocate in the same manner. Now, if we do go back to shaking hands, in the Arab world, the handshake, of course, like everywhere else, you do it when you are standing up, never sitting down. It's a firm handshake with eye contact. And in the Arab world, the actual handshake is going to take a little bit longer than it would normally do anywhere else. So you exchange a few pleasantries, you'd ask about the other person's well-being, their health, the family in general, of course, and the children, not the wife. So it might take a little bit longer than you'd usually be accustomed to. As for the hugs and kisses, I'm going to leave that to another video. How do you feel about going back to shaking hands after this corona pandemic? Do you think it's going to take us very long to do that? Or would you like to go back to shaking hands? And one other thing, how do you feel about two people who are wearing gloves and shaking hands while they're wearing their gloves? What do you think of that? Thank you for listening. Salam.